Ukrainians are fighting back and winning.
Ukraine was asked for a defense system that could radically change the course of the war. Russia continues on the 26th day of the Ukraine war. The Ukrainian leader Zelensky called on Israel and reproached it for not handing over the Iron Dome, the anti-missile defense system that it used in response received from Israel today. It was said that Ukraine received the greatest possible assistance, and that they were trying to keep relationships balanced. Following this statement, accusations surfaced that the Iron Dome system would be handed over to Ukraine as the Russo-Ukrainian war continues into the new week with news of the hot conflict. The Ukrainian president, so to speak, Zelensky, wants the world to support them against Russia. Zelensky renewed his demands for Israel in a statement he made in parliament. He asked why Israel didn't give his country the Iron Dome missile defense system. In Zelensky's video call, it is a fact that everyone knows that the missile defense system he has built is the best. You can help the people of Ukraine. In both cases, the choice is yours. And the president emphasized that he has to live with your people, with your response. It was claimed that by not compromising, medical and humanitarian aid was provided to Ukraine, and the Israeli people were helped in any way they could. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett also stated that they handle relations in a sensitive, generous, and responsible manner, balancing diverse and complex issues. Israel has relations with both Ukraine and Russia. The country that has mediated between the two sides since the start of the war is among those condemning Russia, according to breaking news from the region, where the world turns in its eyes. While the Russian army continues to wait outside Kyiv, he is trying to add a new dimension to his attacks. Russia besieged the city of Mariupol, which has a coastline on the Sea of Azov, to capture it. On the other hand, US President Biden will also make a critical trip. Biden will travel to Poland to discuss the Russian and Ukrainian attacks with his Polish counterpart, Andrzej Duda. The US ambassador in Moscow was summoned to the Russian Foreign Ministry due to Biden's comments about Putin. Here is the latest news on the situation of the war between Russia and Ukraine. Breaking news about the war between Russia and Ukraine continues to arrive. It has been announced that from this afternoon a 35-hour curfew will be imposed in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, where Russia has intensified its attacks. Russia also made a statement today in retaliation for the sanctions. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak said that if Western countries stop buying Russian oil, prices could rise to $300 a barrel. The curfew in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, has been extended in the statement made by the municipality. It has been announced that as of March 21st, the curfew will be maintained from 8 p.m. until March 23rd at 7 a.m. As the Russian army continues its attacks in Ukraine, the Kyiv municipality announced that the curfew has been extended until 7 o'clock. Wednesday hours. 23 of March. March 21 ST. Prohibited transit without special permission. You can only go out to go to the shelters. Groups will be accepted as the expressions were used. Russia has one of the largest and most powerful militaries in the world, but so far it has not made the progress it wanted in Ukraine. Many Western military experts make no secret of their amazement at Russia's performance on the ground. The slow progress in the field. Some military experts. Will Russia overcome her losses? She prompted him to ask the question. Russia clearly did not achieve its goals and probably will not eventually, a senior NATO military official told the BBC this week, he said. So what went wrong? Senior Western military and intelligence officials told us Russia's first mistake was underestimating the defensive capabilities of Ukraine's much smaller army. While Russia allocates $60 billion to its annual defense budget, Ukraine allocates $4 billion. This led Russia to underestimate its power. Russia, like many other powerful armies, may have overestimated its own military might. President Vladimir Putin has been passionately working on the modernization program of the Russian military for a long time, and he may have thought that in return for these efforts, his army had become much stronger than it really was. At the beginning of the invasion, Russia had a very clear advantage in the air. The number of fighter jets sent to the border was 3 times that of Ukraine's fighter jets. For this reason, many military experts thought that Russia would quickly gain superiority in the air. But that didn't happen. Ukraine's defense against fighter jets has so far been enough to limit Russia's room for maneuver. We still have to see the T-14A Armata, which was displayed at the Victory Day parades held in Russia's Red Square, and was billed as the world's most advanced tank in use in this war. Most of the tanks that Russia has deployed are as many as 72 older armored personnel carriers, artillery, and missile launchers. Moscow may also have foreseen that its special forces could play a very quick and decisive role. According to a high-ranking Western military officer, Russia counting on the weakness of Ukraine's air defense, he thought it would be enough to send paratroopers like Spetsnaz that would knock down Ukraine's defenses. But things did not go as expected. In the first days, the attack to destroy the helicopters that had been planned at the airport took them near Kyiv. It failed and the Ukrainian defenses fought off the attack. This prevented Russia from seizing an airport that it would use to send troops, ammunition, and support. When the attack on Ost-Tomé airport was repelled, Russia began to send all its support by road. This led to easier selection of vehicles and convoys moving in certain traffic by Ukraine. When some heavy guns swerved to avoid this, they got stuck in the mud and couldn't move forward. Putin's forces have lost momentum, British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said. Western officials say there are signs that the morale of soldiers in the Russian military is very, very low. They are cold, tired and hungry, an official said of soldiers who had been waiting in Belarus for weeks to cover their losses. Russia has already started reinforcing new troops from the east of the country and from Armenia to the Ukrainian border. An intelligence official says that despite partial disappointment so far, Putin will not give up and will most likely increase his attacks. Putin still believes that Russia can defeat Ukraine militarily, he says. Although the Ukrainian army has shown an effective defense so far, Western experts also warn that the material on their hands may run out quickly unless there is very serious support and supply. Because, although not as much as at the beginning of the war, the superiority is still in the Russian army. U.S. Ambassador to Moscow John Oliver was summoned to the Russian Foreign Ministry due to statements by the U.S. President raining down on Russian President Vladimir Putin, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry statement. Ambassador Solis was summoned to the ministry. He emphasized that Biden's recent remarks about Putin were unacceptable and delivered a note of protest.
Ukraine has captured thousands of Russian soldiers. See, the problem is, Vladimir Putin is a KGB agent. He knows nothing about warfare. Nothing.